Child of my heart, I have been watching your family with a gaze that never blinks and a love that never falters. I do not observe you from a distant throne, as a passive observer glancing through a distant window. I watch as a father who established his entire kingdom upon the very foundation of love. I have witnessed the quiet moments you gather around your table. I have seen the heavy burdens you carry for those under your roof. I have noticed the silent sacrifices you make in the shadows where no human eye can see. You never speak of these offerings because you do not seek earthly applause or human recognition. You give because the Spirit of Christ has taught your soul a mystery that the world still struggles to comprehend. You pour yourself out without keeping a ledger of debts. You love without demanding a return. When you give in this sacred manner, you mirror the very nature of the Father who gave His only Son for a broken world. Your selfless devotion catches the breath of heaven. The angels pause in their worship to marvel at the reflection of my grace shining through your daily obedience. My covenant love saturates every corner of your dwelling. I want you to rest deeply in this truth. I am pouring out the depths of my wisdom regarding what I am doing within your household. I am revealing what I have already accomplished in the unseen realm. I am unfolding the divine preparation I have orchestrated for every soul who shares your bloodline or dwells beneath your roof. This is no casual exchange between strangers passing in the night. This is the voice of your Creator, opening the chambers of my heart to show you the sacred blueprints I drew before the foundations of the earth were laid. Every single person residing under your roof was placed there by my sovereign design. Every relationship within your home carries a divine purpose that stretches far beyond your current mortal comprehension. The bonds that tie your household together were never random accidents of chance. They are holy appointments I arranged with the same meticulous care and precision I used to stretch out the heavens and name every star in the constellations. I know the fractures that ache in your walls. I do not pretend your home exists in perpetual tranquility, for that would be a hollow lie, and I am the God of absolute truth. Families are complex tapestries, woven by human hands and divine threads. The adversary has always understood a terrible strategy. He knows that if he can splinter a household, he can shatter the foundation that sustains generations. He studies the fault lines in your relationships like a siege commander mapping the walls of a fortress. He searches for the exact point where a whisper of pressure might cause a catastrophic collapse. But you must absorb this truth deep into your spirit until it becomes your unshakable anchor. The cracks in your home are never the scars of my abandonment. They are the undeniable proof that something of eternal value resides within your walls. No enemy wastes his dark ammunition on a vacant dwelling. No shadow bothers to assault a place that holds no treasure. The opposition you face, the heavy silences, and the seasons of distance only confirm that my presence flows through the veins of your family, like a mighty river that refuses to be dammed. Let me lead your heart to a place of holy revelation right now. I want you to behold your loved ones through the eyes of the Almighty. Your mortal sight and my eternal vision paint two entirely different realities upon the canvas of time. You witness the sharp words that fly when stress becomes unbearable, and every shoulder carries more than flesh can bear. I see hearts that are fiercely devoted to the covenant of this home. I see souls so deeply invested in the welfare of your family that they refuse to retreat into the comfort of indifference. You perceive the growing distance between certain members of your household. You notice the ones who speak less than they once did. You watch the ones who have drifted into isolated chambers where former ease has turned to quiet tension. But I behold the invisible cord that still binds them together. It is a covenant thread woven from shared history and sacred blood. It is a love that never dissolves, regardless of how long the silence persists. That connection is not fragile glass. It is forged in my eternal workshop and tempered by my own hands. The darkness cannot sever what I have joined together. You look upon the person in your home who seems to wander furthest from my light. You lose sleep over their choices. Your chest tightens with holy anxiety when you trace the path they walk. But I see a soul I have never abandoned, not for a fraction of a second. Not even in the hour they surrendered to despair. Not even when their lips spoke words that seemed to reject my very name. I heard the loud declarations they made in the daylight. Yet I also heard the whispered prayers they breathed in the hidden dark. They did not even realize their own hearts were crying out for rescue. Their silent pleas echoed with the ancient cry for salvation. They begged for my hand to pull them back from the edge. They pleaded for deliverance before the shadows swallowed them whole. I answered those hidden cries with a relentless pursuit that has not lost its pace. I will not rest until they are safely gathered into the arms of their earthly family and their heavenly Father, exactly where they were always destined to dwell. Your household is a sacred orchard I planted with my own hands before the dawn of time learned to count its days. Some of the seeds I sown took root with immediate vigor. They have grown into visible branches that display my goodness to the watching world. You recognize these blossoms easily. You see the family members who kneel in prayer. You witness the ones who hold fast to their faith. You watch them carry their devotion openly into a skeptical culture. They make your spirit rejoice. When you see them navigate the storms of life with a wisdom that flows directly from my throne room. Yet there are other seeds I planted in the deepest soil of your home. These are roots that require a longer season to break the surface. They demand greater patience from the heavens. They need more rain of grace and more cycles of hidden nourishment before their fruit becomes visible to human eyes. Do not mistake their silence for death. Do not label their delay as a flaw in my design. These are not weeds that slipped past my careful cultivation. They are developing a root system of extraordinary depth. They are drawing strength from the living waters of my presence. They are preparing to produce a harvest so abundant that it will awaken wonder in every heart that doubted their growth. I am tending to every seed with infinite care. I am watering every root with my unceasing mercy. I am holding the seasons of your family in the palm of my hand. Trust my timing. As the master gardener who never abandons his field. Wait for the morning light that will reveal the fullness of what I have been building in the dark. My covenant faithfulness is the soil that sustains you all. My spirit is the wind that moves through every branch. I am weaving a story of redemption that will outlast every storm. Those who appear spiritually dormant are never lost causes in the economy of my grace. They are merely late bloomers in a garden cultivated by the Creator of all seasons. I possess the entirety of eternity to tend the soil. I hold none of the human haste that tempts you to uproot a sapling before its roots have found their strength. I want you to comprehend the quiet majesty of how I move within families. The world searches for the thunderous crash of sudden revelation, yet I often work in the silent spaces. I orchestrate 10,000 subtle alignments. I make invisible course corrections that shift the trajectory of a fractured relationship by a fraction of a degree. You will not notice the shift in the moment, but you will witness the monument of my faithfulness when decades have unfolded. Consider the word of grace spoken in the heat of conflict that prevents a sharp exchange from becoming a lasting scar. Recall the deliberate choice to listen rather than retaliate. That choice carves out a sanctuary where another soul feels safe enough to lay down their armor and speak their truth. Remember the courage it takes to remain present when every instinct urges you to retreat into the heavy fortress of silence. These are the sacred bricks of the sanctuary I am constructing through your hands. Each moment of grace carries more weight than your present perspective can measure. My love does not distribute itself in uniform portions. It flows with perfect precision into the unique vessel of every heart. The child who requires firm boundaries is not deprived of grace. The spouse who requires spaciousness to breathe is not abandoned by my care. I speak the ancient language of compassion in 1,000 distinct dialects. I address every member of your household in the exact frequency their wounded spirit requires. This is the profound intimacy of a covenant God. I am blessing your household in dimensions that remain hidden from your mortal sight. The blessings I have decreed over your family are currently navigating the spiritual atmosphere. They are advancing past every obstacle the adversary has strategically placed between my throne and your doorstep. The enemy has raised barricades of suspicion. He has poured mortar made of despair. He has dug trenches of estrangement and flooded them with the bitter waters of pride. He prays that my promises will stall in the heavens and never touch your threshold. Yet no earthly scheme holds the authority to permanently halt what I have sovereignly declared over your lineage. My word has never returned to me void. It carried the creative force that separated the darkness from the light. It possesses the authority to shatter every chain it is sent to break. When I first breathed purpose into your bloodline and stamped destiny upon your name, that decree went forth with the full weight of heaven. It will accomplish its divine assignment, regardless of the storms that gather in its path. Something profound is taking root in the inner chambers of your household. The work is occurring beneath the surface of your natural perception. I am pouring living water into ground that has been parched and hardened by years of sorrow. Pain has compacted the soil, until it seemed utterly impervious to gentleness. Yet I reach into the calcified resentments that stand like ancient stone. I introduce a holy warmth that will inevitably cause those defensive walls to fracture from the inside out. I move with deliberate patience because I honor the intricate architecture of the human soul. A heart is not a simple machine with a single lever to pull. It is a vast landscape layered with memory and scar tissue. It must be navigated with the steady hands of a master healer. I'm tracing every contour of your family with surgical precision and unwavering devotion. The soul beneath your roof that appears most resistant is the very one upon whom I am pouring my most intense grace. I perceive the glorious potential trapped beneath their heavy defenses. They did not erect those barriers out of strength. They built them out of a deep and ancient wound. They were taught that vulnerability invites destruction. So they armored their spirits against every approach. They even shielded themselves from the very love that holds the key to their liberation. But I am the God who walks through sealed doors. I entered the locked upper room after the triumph of the cross. I have not surrendered that sovereign power. I do not require their permission when I already hold the invitation written by your faithful tears. Your intercession has been unlocking portals in the unseen realm. Through those opened gates, I am releasing restoration and divine revelation. I am bringing conviction and tender mercy. I am orchestrating heavenly interruptions that will realign the very foundations of their lives. My grace already saturates every corridor of your home. Let me unfold the nature of the inheritance I am forging for your household. It surpasses every temporal wealth the world could ever promise. It will outlast every structure built by human ambition. It is not composed of fleeting currency or earthly real estate. Though I am perfectly able to provide for your material needs according to my perfect timing, the treasure I am most fervently establishing is the spiritual bedrock laid by your steadfast walk. Every time you choose my quiet voice over the deafening clamor of this age, you are depositing eternal wealth into a generational reservoir. Your children and their descendants will draw from that living spring long after you have crossed the finish line of your earthly pilgrimage. Your faith is not merely a personal refuge. It is the sacred architecture of tomorrow. It is the unshakable framework upon which future generations will construct their own altars of devotion. They will stand upon the covenant ground you secured through your quiet perseverance. They will breathe the spiritual air you fought for in prayer. And they will look back upon the tapestry of your life and finally comprehend why faith came so naturally to their spirits. They will discover that the very ground they stand upon was forged by someone who paid the price of unwavering trust in seasons when belief demanded the highest possible currency. Do you grasp the profound weight of this truth? The heavy burdens you are currently carrying within your own household are not meaningless. The prayers that seem to echo against the heavens are not in vain. The conversations that appear entirely impossible are merely seeds waiting for the right rain. The vast distance between your deepest desires for your family and the visible reality before your eyes is not a void. It is the very mortar and stone of a divine construction. Nothing you endure is being wasted by the Almighty. Not a single tear falls without divine accounting. Not a single sleepless hour of anxiety passes through the veil unnoticed. Not a solitary moment of intercession that seemed to strike the ceiling and return empty is ever lost. Every drop of sorrow you have wept over a wayward soul has been carefully gathered in a sacred vessel, kept intimately close to the throne of grace. Every hushed petition for a spouse who wanders in spiritual shadows has been inscribed in a heavenly ledger that the Lord reads with infinite tenderness. Every silent cry for peace within a fractured home has reached the ears of the Creator with a clarity that would stagger your faith if you could truly perceive the symphony of heaven answering. And I am weaving every single fragment of your suffering into a masterpiece of such staggering beauty. When the day of revelation finally arrives, and you witness the finished work, you will collapse to the ground, not in grief, but in breathless worship. You will marvel at how I have used the sharpest shards of your pain to build the most glorious pillars of your generational covenant. I wish to speak directly into the quiet chambers of your heart regarding the heavy concerns you carry for specific names in your life. You know exactly whom I am naming. Their faces rose in your thoughts before I could complete this sentence. There is one whose choices have burdened your spirit with a weight so dense it settled physically upon your shoulders and tightened behind your eyes from unshed grief. There is another whose heart seems entirely fortified against anything holy. They turn their faces when spiritual truths are mentioned. They dismiss the power of prayer as a relic of the past. And there may yet be another separated by vast geography or by choices that carved a canyon neither of you knows how to cross. Yet I see every single one of them with perfect clarity. I know their names far better than you ever could. I inscribed their identities in the book of life before their parents ever drew breath. I have numbered every hair upon their heads. I watch that number change with each passing day without a single lapse in my attention. Observing the intricate details of my children's lives is never a burden to my heart. It is my deepest delight. I hear the unspoken thoughts they carry in their solitary moments. I know the questions they whisper into the dark when no human ear is near. And I assure you that the very same relentless love that pursued you through every valley of resistance and every season of rebellion until your knees finally bent is now pursuing them with identical fervor and unyielding patience. My love does not show partiality. It operates in perfect timing. The timing I have ordained for your beloved is never late. It is flawlessly precise. The patience I extend toward their wandering hearts runs deeper than any abyss you have ever contemplated. And my patience is never passive waiting. It is active pursuit, woven into perfect chronology. I am not seated in the heavens merely hoping they might accidentally wander back to grace. I am orchestrating divine appointments. I am arranging circumstances with sovereign grace. I am placing conversations and heavenly interruptions directly upon the path of every soul in your lineage who has not yet yielded to the love that has been chasing them since the moment of their conception. Their defiance does not discourage my purpose. Their arguments do not wound my wisdom. Their silence does not confuse my understanding. I comprehend every hidden chamber of their hearts, because I am the very architect who fashioned them. I know precisely where the concealed doors remain. Those doors always open from the inside, when the exact truth is spoken at the exact moment by the exact voice. I will part the hardened waters of their pride, just as I parted the Red Sea before Moses. I will seal the roaring mouths of despair, just as I closed the jaws of the lions in the den of Daniel. Their resistance is already marked for surrender by the power of my Spirit. Sometimes that voice will be your own steady declaration of truth. Sometimes it will be the unexpected words of a stranger they cross in a crowded place. Sometimes it will be the quiet echo of their own memory, recalling a season when they first felt the warmth of grace and their souls came alive. And sometimes it will be my own whisper penetrating the deepest recesses of their spirit in the stillness of the early morning hours. Every defensive wall they have erected will finally grow quiet. The true self that lies buried beneath years of pride and performance will finally listen. There is a crucial conversation that must soon take place among the very people you hold most dear. You already recognize the exact dialogue I am speaking of. It has been delayed for so many years that its absence has become a heavy furniture piece you have learned to navigate around. Yet avoiding a burden is never the same as lifting it. I am preparing to clear the narrow path between certain hearts in your home that have been circling one another instead of drawing near. This coming exchange does not require flawless eloquence. It does not demand that every wound be healed in a single moment. It simply requires a faithful beginning. I will be intimately present within that room. I will serve as the divine mediator, whom neither side can see, but both will profoundly feel. My invisible presence will transform a potentially bitter clash into a sacred doorway for restoration. When the appointed hour arrives, you will recognize it instantly, because your spirit will resonate with truth long before your mind can process it. Step into that sacred space with unshakable courage. Leave the final outcome entirely upon my sovereign hands. I am already moving in the unseen realms to prepare the ground for their return. The wind of revival is gathering strength beyond your horizon. Prepare your heart to receive the breakthrough that I have already secured in the spirit realm. Cease striving to rescue your beloved household by the mere force of your own weary hands. I breathe that fierce instinct into your soul, because I am a father who delights in perfect protection. The longing to mend broken pieces and hold together the fragile tapestry of your family is a sacred impulse born of genuine love. Yet, you were never fashioned to carry the heavy mantle of their salvation. That holy office belongs to me alone, and I bear it with unshakable resolve. Your calling is to stand as a steadfast lighthouse upon the rocky shore. You are not a fragile vessel, meant to battle the tempestuous seas until you are swallowed by the crashing waves. A lighthouse remains anchored and unyielding. It casts a brilliant beam that does not dim when the ships wander into dangerous waters or drift far from the marked channel. Your sacred duty is simply to keep the flame alive. My divine purpose is to navigate their weary souls safely back to the eternal harbor. I have guided lost and broken vessels home since the morning stars first sang together at the dawn of creation. Not a single promise has ever slipped through my fingers. When the appointed hour arrives, I will always gather what is mine with perfect grace and unwavering love. Do not underestimate the profound spiritual weight of your quiet presence among your kin. I am not speaking of a hollow performance where you occupy a chair while your spirit drifts far into the shadows. I am revealing the deep ministry of being fully here and fully awake to the moment. Your mere dwelling in the room can anchor a restless soul that has been tossed by the winds of anxiety. When you gather at the family table and offer your undivided attention, you bestow a rare grace upon those who hunger for it. You grant them the profound dignity of being truly seen and deeply known. In that sacred exchange, you become a living mirror of my own eternal heart. For I have never turned away from the children of my hand. I have sat with humanity through every joy and every tear since the first breath was drawn in the garden. My presence is the ultimate refuge, and when you emulate that steadfast nearness, you weave a canopy of divine peace over your household. I am pouring a sacred inheritance into your family that surpasses earthly wealth or fleeting spiritual insights. It is the holy gift of genuine laughter. I speak of the deep joy that rises from the soul and overflows into the body. It is the kind of delight that closes the eyes and lightens the heavy burdens of the weary day. I desire to weave moments of pure and unguarded celebration into your daily life. These blessings do not wait for perfect circumstances to arrive before they bloom. They rise precisely because life, in all its tangled and painful reality, still carries pockets of breathtaking beauty that demand your gratitude. Let your dwelling become a sanctuary where joyful voices echo freely. Banish the bitter mockery that divides and wounds. Welcome the healing laughter that binds hearts together and washes away the dust of sorrow. Let it remind every soul under your roof that I am not a God of gloom or stern judgment alone. I am the fountain of all delight and the author of every perfect gift. I designed the very capacity for shared joy to be a living testament of my abundant grace. Open your spiritual eyes to the quiet blessings already woven into the fabric of your family. Familiarity has long clouded your vision, but I am lifting the veil from your heart. Consider the profound mystery of shared blood and intertwined destinies. You are connected by a lineage that stretches through generations and carries the fingerprints of my faithful design. You carry the gentle eyes of a grandmother, the resilient spirit of a grandfather, and the tender compassion of a mother within your own frame. You are never walking this earthly pilgrimage in absolute isolation. Voices will answer when you cry out, even when your conversations are flawed and your disagreements run deep. Even in the most fractured dwelling, there exists a sacred tether that strangers can never replicate. A shared history binds your hearts with a gravity that mere friendship cannot fathom. Your home, with all its unresolved tensions and lingering wounds, remains one of the most profound gifts I have entrusted to your care. I call you to receive it with reverent gratitude once more. lay down the heavy yoke of trying to orchestrate every outcome. Instead, walk with a light step that honors the grace already present before asking for what remains unseen. I am crossing the threshold of your home in a profound and renewed manner during this season. I was never truly absent, for I never forsake the place where my name is honored, and my presence is invited with sincerity. Yet your current earnestness has unlocked a deeper dimension of grace that casual devotion can never reach. When you lift your voice in fervent prayer for your household, having exhausted every earthly remedy and found it wanting, the very atmosphere around your dwelling shifts. Your supplications are not mere whispers fading into the silence of heaven. They are active declarations that awaken eternal covenant promises written long before your birth. You are drawing upon generational blessings that have been preserved in the treasury of my faithfulness. Righteous ancestors planted seeds of obedience in your lineage, and their steadfast devotion created spiritual reservoirs that now flow freely to you and your children. The covenant does not perish when the planter goes to rest. It matures across generations and ripens when a faithful voice finally claims it with trembling hands. Allow me to reveal the hidden work I am accomplishing within the walls of your dwelling. You cannot trace this movement with your physical sight, yet it is more tangible than the stone and timber that surround you. I am purifying the very air of your household. Every harsh word spoken in anger has left a heavy residue upon the emotional landscape of your home. Every prolonged season of tension has deposited a thick fog that everyone felt, but none could name. I am sweeping away every stain with a thoroughness that leaves no shadow behind. I am replacing that heaviness with a profound peace that does not merely wait for the storm to pass. It stands as an unmovable fortress in the midst of the tempest. This peace is a living presence that knows no boundaries. It is the peace of the Lord who reigns supreme over every conflict your family has endured or will ever face. It possesses a quiet texture that settles into the spaces between weary hearts. It makes your home a sanctuary of safety once more. It restores warmth to cold rooms and invites communion where division once ruled. I am actively weaving the fractured threads of your family bonds back together in ways that will astonish your spirit. You will begin to notice subtle shifts in how you speak to one another and how you listen to the quiet spaces between words. The walls of resentment will grow thin as my grace pours over them like the morning dew. A new patience will take root in places where frustration once dominated. You will witness small miracles of reconciliation that defy human explanation and bring tears of relief. These are not accidents of timing, but deliberate acts of my redeeming love that touch every generation under your roof. I am preparing your household to walk in a new alignment of grace and truth. The foundation is being fortified with living stones, and the doors are being opened to a deeper season of shared purpose. As you rest in this renewed assurance, you will begin to feel the quiet strength that sustains every covenant home. My hand remains firmly upon the roof of your dwelling, and my spirit breathes steadily through every chamber. The work is already underway, and the next phase of this restoration unfolds with quiet certainty. Conversations that once appeared utterly impossible shall now unfold with divine ease. The heavy burden of forced reconciliation shall lift from your shoulders. You will witness words of healing flow without the awkwardness of human effort. A telephone call will arrive from a heart that has grown distant over many years. This call will not be born from a sense of duty or familial obligation. It will spring from a sudden and genuine stirring of the Holy Spirit within their innermost being. You will see a profound softening in the eyes of those who have kept their hearts guarded for so long. Vulnerability shall cease to feel like a foreign tongue to them. They will discover a newfound willingness to listen when they previously sought only to be heard and validated. These sacred shifts are never mere coincidences. They are not random fluctuations in human temperament. They are the unmistakable fingerprints of my living spirit, working in the invisible spaces between the souls you cherish. I am rearranging hardened hearts with the gentle precision of a master potter shaping clay upon the wheel. I know exactly which vessel requires turning. I measure the exact pressure needed to bring forth beauty without breaking the clay. For the children entrusted to your care, I hold specific and unchanging decrees. These plans are perfectly tailored to the unique individuals they are becoming. They are not bound by your personal expectations. They are not confined by the shifting standards of a fallen world. Each one carries a sacred blueprint that I carefully encoded into their very essence. Before they drew their first breath, their purpose is so distinctly ordained that my eternal kingdom would be incomplete without their specific offering. Consider the one who appears rebellious in your eyes. That spirit often carries the strongest leadership potential. A holy fire burns within their chest, though it has not yet learned the proper direction for its flames. What you perceive as defiance is merely untamed courage. I shall guide that fierce energy toward righteous ends. That courage will accomplish mighty works that compliant temperaments could never achieve. Consider the one who seems quiet and withdrawn. That stillness houses the deepest spiritual sensitivity. They process the world at a profound depth that more outgoing natures cannot fathom. They are not disconnected from their fellow humans. They are dwelling in rich internal landscapes. The wisdom they are cultivating in secret shall become a wellspring for others when the noise of the external world grows too heavy to bear. Consider the one who seems lost in fleeting pleasures and worldly distractions. They are often fleeing a calling so vast that it fills them with holy fear. Every temporary pursuit they chase is merely a poor substitute for the destiny they already sense in their marrow. I do not make errors in my design. I invest heavily in dormant potential. Every young soul in your household represents a covenant investment. I am fully committed to seeing this work brought to glorious completion. My patience far outlasts the long seasons of their development. I am also moving powerfully within the marriages that anchor your family lineage. I see every strain that has accumulated across the passing years. Two people who once gazed upon each other with holy wonder now sometimes look upon one another with deep exhaustion. Love has not vanished from the foundation of your union. The weight of shared responsibilities has simply pressed down upon you. Unspoken expectations have built silent walls. The daily labor of building a life together can wear down even the most steadfast covenant. I am actively reweaving every thread that has grown thin. I am awakening sleeping memories of the sacred vows you made. I will not accomplish this through sudden dramatic displays or overnight miracles. I will work through small and consistent moments of grace woven into the ordinary rhythm of your days. I will orchestrate a lingering glance across the room that speaks louder than words. I will guide a gentle touch upon the shoulder to carry the weight of an entire conversation. I will inspire a shared laugh over a simple matter to lift the heavy atmosphere. You will remember beneath the complexity that your bond remains deeply worth fighting for. These are my divine interventions. They remain subtle enough to feel entirely natural. They possess enough power to rebuild foundations that time and friction have slowly eroded. My heart holds a special tenderness for the elderly members of your household. Their physical steps may grow slower as the seasons advance. Their spirits nevertheless carry the immense weight of decades of accumulated wisdom. They must never be viewed as burdens upon your time. They are living treasures in my sight. They hold stories that bridge generations. They have prayed fervent prayers over your family for countless years. Their quiet faith sustained them through trials that would have shattered weaker vessels. All of this devotion has deposited a rich spiritual inheritance into the generational account of your house. That inheritance continues to yield divine dividends. Honor them with patient reverence. Listen closely to their counsel. Sit quietly in their presence, even when their pace feels slow compared to your hurried world. In the economy of my kingdom, the refined wisdom of an elder who has walked faithfully beside me through decades of testing holds greater value than the frantic energy of 100 youthful minds that have not yet been purified by the fires of obedience. Your home must stand as a true sanctuary in this troubled age. It shall not become a cold museum where flawless appearances are displayed, and every flaw is hidden behind polished veneers. It shall not become a harsh courtroom where every action is weighed and sentences are swiftly pronounced for each mistake. It shall be a sacred refuge where forgiveness is practiced far more often than judgment is handed down. It shall be a dwelling where my holy word establishes the true standard for every decision. This does not require perfect inhabitants. It requires inhabitants who know exactly where to turn when they stumble. When confusion attempts to take up residence and rearrange the foundational values of your family, I am constructing that sanctuary through your steady obedience. I am building it through your consistent pursuit of my presence, even when you see no immediate fruit. I am building it through your ready willingness to offer an apology when you are in the wrong. That single act teaches your household more about my character than 1,000 eloquent sermons could ever convey. I am building it through your deliberate choice to extend grace when others fall short of the mark. You will demonstrate that true mercy is never a sign of weakness. Mercy stands as the highest and most glorious expression of spiritual strength. I am building it through your unwavering commitment to kneel before my throne, even on the days you feel entirely unqualified to guide another soul. The financial burdens that have rested upon your household do not testify to my silence nor to my indifference. They bear witness only to the adversary, who knows well that scarcity is a potent instrument for fracturing the bonds of kinship. He has weighed the scales, and he recognizes that when the storehouse grows lean, the spirit grows restless. When demands outpace provision, dialogue hardens into negotiation, and shared visions fracture into mutual dread. When uncertainty casts its shadow over the horizon, fear takes up residence in your halls. It settles upon your furniture as though it holds the deed to your peace. Yet hear my voice above that whispering dread. I behold the entirety of your household with eyes that span the ages. I see not merely the valley you traverse, but the mountain you will ascend. Your path leads to a storehouse of abundance that does not flood and recede like the restless tide, but stands firm and deeply rooted in covenant faithfulness. I am aligning your footsteps with divine rhythms. I am positioning doors that match the gifts I have woven into your very soul. Resources are already in motion through channels you cannot yet perceive. They will arrive at the exact hour of need. Neither a breath too early nor a heartbeat too late. The gates I have prepared will swing open, not by your frantic striving, but by the quiet turn of my sovereign hand. My provision covers every room in your dwelling. I also speak directly to the heavy chain of guilt you sometimes drag through your days. You carry the relentless whisper that you ought to labor longer and pray with greater fervor and respond with perfect wisdom in every trial. Let it be known with absolute clarity that this accusation does not originate from my throne. The deceiver frequently drapes his condemnation in the robes of holy conviction. He seeks to convince you that the voice calling you inadequate belongs to your Creator. It does not. I never lead my children by the iron rod of shame or the heavy yoke of deficiency. I draw you by the gentle cords of covenant love. I invite you as a father who opens his arms and calls you to draw near rather than a taskmaster who demands you strive harder. My affection for you in every station you hold remains unshaken. Whether you guide a child, or stand beside a spouse, or care for an aging parent, my love does not fluctuate with your daily performance. You cannot purchase the blessings I pour over your home. You never could earn them, for my favor flows from my eternal character rather than your earthly record. Lay down the burden of your past failures and offer yourself the same grace I extend to you. I know precisely which moments rise in your memory when you close your eyes. I remember the sharp words that escaped your lips before you could restrain them. They were forged in exhaustion and the crushing weight of carrying burdens far too long for your strength alone. I see the hours you sat in the same room yet dwelt miles away because your own internal warfare consumed your every thought. I witnessed the choices you made that now ache with the piercing clarity of hindsight. Hear this truth and let it reshape the way you carry those memories. I wove every one of those stumbles into the grand tapestry of my design for your family. Every lapse in judgment and every moment of frailty was fully known to me before your first breath. I placed you within this lineage with open eyes. Your imperfections never caught me off guard. They never diverted the destiny I inscribed over your household from eternity. They have been redeemed into the narrative, but they do not write the final chapter. The defining verses are being penned in this present season through every act of steadfast trust and every tearful prayer and every deliberate choice to hold fast to my promise when your surroundings seem to contradict it. There is a soul within your family who must receive the declaration I am entrusting to your lips. I will place the words upon your tongue, and you will deliver them when the appointed hour arrives. Tell them that their worth is not measured by the blind judgments of those who failed to perceive their true essence. Tell them that the rejection they endured from a parent or a spouse or a companion or a gathering of peers does not carry the weight of heavenly judgment. Human dismissal is merely an echo of earthly brokenness and never reflects the verdict of heaven. I have kept a meticulous record of every cruel label spoken against their spirit. I preserve it not to exact vengeance upon the accusers, but to systematically replace every falsehood with a truth of such profound resonance that the old insults will eventually fade into complete silence. Assure them that they are cherished beyond the limits of human understanding. My love is not a vague theological abstraction that washes over the multitude and touches no individual heart. It is a precise and deliberate choice. I selected them before the foundations of the earth were laid, and I would choose them again with the same unwavering certainty. That truth will make the knees tremble, and the eyes weep, and the heart swell, until it can barely contain the weight of being fully known and utterly accepted. Your household is now crossing into a season that will feel fundamentally altered from the years you have endured. This transformation will not arrive because the storms vanish overnight, or because every trial is suddenly removed from your path. My work does not bypass the refining fire, but it sanctifies how you walk through it. The heavy atmosphere that once suffocated your conversations and drained your spirit will give way to a profound and sustaining lightness. This new air of peace flows from the settled knowledge of who truly holds the scepter over your lives. It springs from a complete surrender to the unchanging character of your Redeemer. You will learn to rest in the quiet assurance that the one who parted the waters and commanded the wind is the very one who orders your days. Trust in his faithful governance and watch how the atmosphere of your home begins to shift. Where anxiety has settled upon your spirit regarding the future of your household, you must now release that heavy burden into my hands. I am planting within you a confidence that does not rely upon human predictability or fragile circumstances. This assurance is anchored solely in my unchanging character. I hold every single member of your lineage in the palm of my hand. I have never surrendered what I have chosen to embrace. I am the God who commanded the chaotic waters to divide and the dry ground to appear. I am equally capable of guiding your family through every unknown valley. I see the relationships within your bloodline that carry the deepest fractures. I observe the wounds between parents and children, where trust was shattered in years, when safety should have been an absolute promise. I witness the siblings who once shared an unbreakable bond, but now navigate a landscape divided by adult misunderstandings. I perceive the spouses who entered their covenant with radiant hope, only to face the relentless testing of shared days. I do not overlook these hidden pains. I will not ask you to disguise them beneath empty spiritual phrases. I am standing directly in the center of these broken covenants to bring forth true and lasting restoration. I will not merely paint over the fractures. I will fill them with divine grace until the mended places shine with a strength and a beauty that surpasses the original design. The narrative of your family is not dictated by its darkest chapters. It is authored by the one who holds the pen. That author is me. I specialize in weaving stories that appear utterly broken in the middle, yet culminate in breathtaking glory at the close. I have been crafting redemptive histories since the dawn of creation. I have never once surveyed a shattered household and concluded that the ruin exceeded the reach of my creative power. The same voice that summoned light out of profound darkness is now speaking restoration into your fragmented home. I am commanding that restoration into being this very moment. You must now align your own voice with my eternal decree. Open your mouth and speak blessings over your household with audible authority. Do not confine your prayers to silent whispers. Recognize that human speech carries profound creative weight because you bear the image of the God who called entire constellations into orbit. Speak life over your children by name. Declare purpose over your spouse. Proclaim reconciliation over bonds damaged by countless unaddressed grievances. Command abundance over every area of lack that has plagued your household. When your words align with my will and rise from a heart that knows its true Father, they become instruments of invisible transformation that reshape realities far beyond natural perception. I have kept a sacred record of every prayer you abandoned when the waiting grew too heavy to bear. I remember the whispered pleas for your marriage that slowly faded into silence. I recall the fervent intercessions for your children that once formed the daily rhythm of your communion until doubt convinced you that heaven was not listening. Those petitions did not expire when your voice grew quiet. They remain vibrantly alive. They are still actively at work within the spiritual realm. They are producing fruit in territories your mortal sight cannot penetrate. Every single request you have ever voiced concerning your family rests in a secure archive where nothing is ever misplaced. Nothing is ever forgotten. Some of those prayers are already being answered in ways that will only become visible in due season. They are like seeds that have already cracked open beneath the soil, but have not yet pushed through to the surface. Others have been answered already in forms you failed to recognize, because the provision arrived wearing unexpected garments. You must now awaken to the faithful accounting of your Heavenly Father. As I prepare the coming days for your household, I call you to surrender a posture that defies every protective instinct you possess. You must release the people you cherish from the restrictive confines of your own expectations. I understand why this feels terrifying. It may seem as though you are loosening your grip on the wheel while the journey continues. Yet your expectations, however well-meaning, can easily become iron cages that hinder your loved ones from stepping into the unique design I have woven into their spirits. Love them exactly as they stand, while you steadfastly believe in who they are becoming. This is the precise manner in which I have always loved you. It remains the most potent transformative force in all of creation. I never demanded your perfection before I pledged my eternal devotion to your flourishing. I loved you fiercely in your darkest seasons, just as I love you in your brightest hours. Extend that identical gift to your household. The individual who provokes your deepest frustration may be the very soul starving for the sanctuary of unconditional grace. The one who appears furthest from redemption may be standing closest to a profound awakening that only your steadfast patience can usher in. Your home is far more than a structure of timber and stone. It is a consecrated spiritual territory that carries the weight of the presence dwelling within it. I abide within those walls. My sacred name has been invoked in your living rooms. My written word has been read beneath your roof. My Holy Spirit has been welcomed into the very atmosphere of your family life. Because of this holy invitation, an impenetrable shield rests upon your household. No weapon forged against you by the adversary shall prosper. No curse launched from the outside shall take root in soil that has been saturated with my glory. Every scheme designed to sever the bonds between the souls under your roof will be utterly dismantled. I am a God who fiercely guards what belongs to me. My jealousy for your family is not a possessive control, but a protective fire. I am relentlessly committed to the flourishing of every single person who bears my name upon them. The peace I am pouring into your dwelling is not a fleeting calm that will vanish when the next storm arrives. It is a foundational recalibration of the spiritual climate within your home. It is a peace that refuses to pack its bags and flee when the door swings open and the chaos of the world attempts to intrude. This peace will become embedded in the very architecture of your house. It will settle into the tone of every conversation around your table. It will be reflected in the unspoken understanding that passes between family members across a crowded room. This profound tranquility is a direct inheritance from my throne. Accept it without overanalyzing its dimensions. Receive it without questioning your own worthiness. Simply open your hands as a trusting child opens their palms to receive a precious inheritance from a father who has been carefully preparing this gift for generations. I must also illuminate the spiritual covering that now rests upon your lineage. Because you have chosen to walk in fellowship with me, you may not fully comprehend the mechanics of the invisible warfare. I will draw back the veil just enough for you to witness the fortress that surrounds those you love. When you surrendered your life to my care, you did not merely secure your own eternal safety. You established a covenant zone of protection that blankets your entire household. This shield does not stand because your faith is flawless. It stands because the God in whom you trust is perfectly capable of defending everything entrusted to his keeping. Countless attacks aimed at your family have been intercepted mid-flight. Malevolent plans drafted in the shadows have been dismantled before they could take a single step toward execution. Hidden traps placed along the daily paths of your children have been removed by angelic hands before their feet ever approached the danger. You will never fully grasp the magnitude of what I have been shielding you from in this earthly age. Yet if the curtain were fully lifted, you would be overcome with holy gratitude. You would never again doubt the efficacy of your prayers for divine covering. The enemy holds no final authority over your household. He is permitted only a temporary whisper. He may attempt to sow seeds of doubt and stir the waters of conflict. His influence operates strictly within the boundaries I have sovereignly decreed. He cannot cross the line I have drawn around the people who belong to me. Your family belongs to me entirely. I claim every generation. I claim every member. I claim every future descendant who will one day study your family tree and trace their faith back to the steadfast individual who refused to release my hand. That faithful anchor is you. The decision you are making right now to persevere in prayer and stand as a spiritual intercessor is forging an eternal legacy that no darkness can corrupt or destroy. I have placed an invisible but undeniable seal upon your home. This mark bears my holy name. That name carries an authority that predates the foundations of the earth and will outlast the final star. Every principality and every power must bow before the authority inscribed over your doorway. They must acknowledge the sovereign name of your Creator and Protector. Your praise rises directly to my throne room with undeniable power. When you choose to worship amidst family trials, you activate a heavenly principle that unlocks provision in ways that earthly logic cannot fathom. Your gratitude is not merely background melody to my spirit. It is a profound declaration of trust that echoes beautifully through eternity. Your thankfulness serves as a master key that unlocks a chamber filled with every good thing I have been storing up for your lineage since the moment I formed them. I invite you now to envision your household through my eternal eyes. I see the return of genuine laughter to rooms that have known only heavy tension. I see conversations that pierce through superficial layers and establish deep, healing connections. I see a young soul in your family making a pivotal choice that turns their entire life toward my light. That single decision will send a ripple of grace through every corridor of your home like a flame refusing to be extinguished. I see divine provision arriving at your threshold with such precise timing that coincidence becomes an impossible explanation. I see the mending of a relationship that the world had long abandoned as hopeless. I have never abandoned it because I do not know how to surrender to despair. This vision is not born of human wishful thinking. It is not vague encouragement designed to fade when reality returns. It is the declared word of a God who never speaks lightly and never promises what he cannot or will not fulfill. What I have spoken over your household will absolutely come to pass. It will not materialize because you have earned it through flawless behavior or perfect religious observance. It will come to pass because I have sovereignly chosen your family. I have irrevocably loved your family. My love has never been conquered by any force in the history of creation. Step forward into the coming days with your head held high and your heart firmly anchored in my promises. Your family remains my cherished project. I do not abandon what I have begun. Your home serves as my dwelling. I do not neglect the places where my presence resides. Your loved ones are my deepest concern. Every attribute of my divine nature is being deployed on behalf of those who gather under your roof. The fullness of the blessing I am orchestrating will become so visibly evident that every observer will recognize, without question, the active hand of a loving God moving through your midst. Before we reach the conclusion of this sacred communion, I leave you with a promise that has never failed and will never falter. I will remain utterly faithful to your household. In seasons of overflowing joy, when relationships flourish and blessings multiply, I will be seated at your table, rejoicing as a proud father who delights in his children. In seasons of severe testing, when the ground beneath your home seems to tremble and stability feels threatened by invisible forces, I will place my hand firmly beneath the foundation to prevent the collapse that the enemy eagerly anticipates. My faithfulness does not fluctuate according to your family's performance. It stands as an immutable constant, as reliable as the morning dawn, and as enduring as the covenant that initiated this entire redemptive story. I love you with a devotion that existed before your first breath and will persist long after the heavens have grown old. I extend that same relentless affection to every person you hold dear. I especially pursue those within your circle who have not yet recognized the depth of my personal love for them. I am pursuing them with a patience that will ultimately triumph. My love is stronger than the grave and wider than the cosmos. It is entirely sufficient to complete the magnificent work I have begun within your lineage. Entrust the people your heart cherishes most deeply into my sovereign care. I will shepherd them with a tenderness that surpasses all human understanding, because I am their maker. I know their deepest needs. I hold glorious and hopeful plans for each of their futures. These plans are designed to reflect my radiant glory in the lives of those you love, as they finally step into the fullness of their divine calling. Let this truth settle permanently into your spirit. My grace is your portion. My strength is your refuge. My word is your unshakable foundation. The season of restoration is already unfolding within the hidden places of your home. Trust in my timing. Walk in my light. Receive the fullness of the peace I am laying upon your household. Amen.